Okay, so I just wanted to show you that I did fix my white fields. I did a little masking and resprayed the black, and they turned out. I also didn't really show you, but to add some interest, I added these red chevrons on the leading edges of all three wings. They were just masked off and sprayed real quick, because there's some pictures of one from this particular Yasta 6 that had those. So I thought, oh, that'd be fun to put on. And then I masked off and sprayed my little ID there. I put a D for my name. It was something that was common that was done on these airplanes. And so I think it looks kind of fun. Now I thought, okay, it's time to actually start putting the thing together. So I'm looking at the mid wing, making sure it's straight, and added my glue. A fair amount of it because it has to, this has to be held on pretty dang well. The important thing is to make sure it's square, looking at it from the top and the bottom, and make sure the wings aren't drooping and you look at it from the front. And as long as you do that, you should be okay. So just take a little time. I actually run a little ruler straight edge down the middle, just to kind of make sure, and there it is together and dry. First step is done. Now, a couple more details here. I taped off areas for my little turnaround of the turquoise. Remember, I tried to do it at the beginning and it was dumb. It didn't work. So now I went back just with a brush and some tape. This worked much, much better. Comes around and it's a sharp line. Looks much better than it did when I initially masked it off. So that was kind of a waste of time. This worked out much better. You just methodically go by, and then when it's dry, you just carefully peel. Those vertical pieces of tape are to hold the pieces, those white pieces, clean. But now you can see all the way back. It looks good. In fact, some of them, I think the turnaround went over the white field on the cross too. There's, pictorial evidence of that, but I didn't bother doing that. Did the other side the same way. There it is finished. Looks good. And that's the way they were apparently done at the factory. Don't know why. Then I put on my little control horns and I had to paint them. And so I just painted them white because they're in the white field. I didn't show putting them on, but it's just a matter of putting them on there. Then I added my control wires. I tried to show this or take pictures, but it's so tiny in there, impossible to get a picture of. So just trust me how it worked. Now this, the next thing to do is put on this little decking that goes over that mid wing. That's where the machine guns are going to go to, and the interplane struts. And here's this piece. This is really cool. Could you look at that? Look at how weird that looks. It's kind of angled. And you're like, how on earth is this going to fit over that? I just personally could not figure it out. But this is really ingenious, and this is geometry and math. It's so interesting, and it's really cool part of paper models. So watch what happens when I put that down over that curve, and if I press down where it's supposed to be, when I curve it, if you press it, those side straight pieces actually splay out and go kind of straight. And so now when you put them down, they're right where they're supposed to be. Just blew me away because I'm not good at that sort of thing. And to realize that that's how it's designed is really cool. You push down, get a nice curve on the front, it straightens everything out the way it's supposed to be. Once that's on, then that second piece goes in the middle when we're ready. So I added a little glue all the way around this piece, and I very carefully lined it up. There's a line on the piece and a line on my front of my bulkhead there I put. And I pressed that down with my finger and thumb, my forefinger and thumb, to make it nice and curved. Get that on first. And then again, when you press down, those two little fleeces that were kind of diagonal go up straight because of the curve. And now you just very carefully fold them back over the top of the mid-wing. And they just sit on top of the airfoil, and they look really cool. I'm surprised how well they work, I guess is my issue. I wondered how this was going to fit and if it was going to be difficult. Turns out it was super easy to do. And very intuitive. Sometimes paper models, you look at a piece and you go, I have no idea how it's going to work. And as you start putting it together, it fixes itself. So then I test fit this piece, which fit like a glove. That was a poor picture there, but it fits very well. Only problem is it needs to be curved a bit. Not a problem. Do like we always do. Curve against a mouse or a fat finger. And test fit it again just to make sure. Now when I put it in, it slides right in, fits like a puzzle piece, just right in like that. Boom. I think that's separate because that has to be a hard piece to actually get right. And since it's going to be under the machine gun barrels and stuff, I think it'll look fine. You won't see much of it. Anyway, put some glue on this piece and then drop it in place. Just be real careful, take your time. If you don't think it's right, pull it out. Otherwise, give it a little pressure and you'll end up with a nice little finished piece. And just make sure that it's nice and solid on there. The key will be now where my interplane struts and things are located. Hopefully they're in the right place. They should be. I'm banking on it the way this kit has been going together. It's going to be beautiful. Just making sure everything is straight and making sure things are flat. Looks great. Looks really, really good, actually. And there I'm pointing out that's where cabane struts go. Not interplanes, cabanes. Those are 2 holes for those. And then the inner hole is going to be for that piece, is going to be for aileron cables later. I also added this datum line. You can barely see it. It's a black line. I drew it on with a Sharpie and a straight edge. That was a line that the airplanes had on them when you were rigging them out in the field because they came in pieces. So you had to put them together. So that's sort of like was a reference line for, I guess, dead horizontal. And that's what you rig the wings to. Looks good. Now I decided to take the plunge and put the bottom wing on. I did end up putting a truncated rear, I'm putting some super glue on there right now, a truncated rear wire just to have another place for the wing to go to attach. It fits pretty well, but I don't have it going as far as the front wire. It just kind of goes in probably the length of a rib bay, no further. Put that in. I put pressure with my forefinger there and add a little bit of the zip kicker. Same thing with the other side. You get it started, get it going. This is after a bunch of test fits, and there's some glue in there. And then you put the other side on. All this time you're making sure that things, again, are not crooked, things are perpendicular. And notice I put, again, pressure with my finger between my thumb and my forefinger there, hold that wingtip on, or put pressure against the wingtip. And I notice I need a little more glue right in that trailing edge area. But you make sure everything is just right. Then you put in your zip kicker and bam, it's together. You just got to make sure before you do commit to glue that all your incidences are right and everything. You don't want too much positive, too much negative. It's got to be spot on. All right, so there it is. And now I'm starting to fit the eye struts. Those pieces that go out the side. So they fit in little slots. And then come on the other side, and I'll have to touch these up a little bit with some paint when they're all done. But basically, you're trying to put these in, and they do fit pretty dang well. I had a little glue spill there, so I'm getting rid of that. But sometimes tweezers are nice to grab and kind of push down. And you end up with, what's nice is they're straight. I mean, they actually line up, meaning it's all engineered right, and you put it together right, because otherwise the eye struts would be canted outward or something. They're not. They're nice. Right up and down vertical. They're supposed to be dead vertical on the real airplane. So there's the mid wing and the bottom wing together. The next thing to tackle will be the top wing. So I decided to finish the tails, and so there's going to be a strut that goes from there all the way to there on the fuselage. And I decided to make mine out of pulled plastic. So you heat pull the plastic like I think I've shown before. Lit that one on fire. My wife was upset with me. And then you pull it out, make sure it's the thickness that you want and the length that you need. And then you cut them out, add a little glue. These aren't structural, but they have to be there. Otherwise, it won't look right. It definitely needs the struts down there. And I waited to put them on after I'd rigged the rear end because it's hard to get in there. And you just kind of piddle with these a little bit. You got to sort of make sure everything's straight and true again, as usual. And once you're done, one side, you put on the other side. And you just carefully do it. And then you just have to take your time and eyeball them. Make sure they're even. Make sure they look good going head on. from the bottom, everything else. And then they need to, there they are. Oh, there's tail skids on there. I apologize because something went wrong and I couldn't show you how to make the tail skid, but it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a few couple pieces of laminations in there. As a final point here, I painted these struts my underside turquoise color, and that finishes off the back end. Looks really good. The next thing to do is going to be to do the machine guns, because they're going to have to be modified. Yeah, there it looks good.